Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I'm going to have so much fun talking with my guest today because not only is he in Colorado, I always love it when I get to talk to people from home, but he is also a marketing expert and a small business marketing expert at that. So we're really going to be talking about the fundamentals, the nuts and bolts. And so please join me in welcoming Tim Fitzpatrick to our program today. Welcome, Tim.
Deb, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Great. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you and then we will jump into this. So Tim Fitzpatrick is an entrepreneur, business owner with expertise in marketing and business growth. He has over 20 years of entrepreneurial experience with a passion for developing and growing businesses. That passion served him well in operating and managing a wholesale distribution company he co-owned for 9 years. The company grew an average of 60% a year before it was acquired in 2005. Since then, he's had failures and successes that have been valuable learning experiences. Tim started Rialto Marketing in 2013 and has been helping service businesses simplify marketing so they can grow with less stress. Most people overcomplicate marketing, and it doesn't have to be that way. So let's learn more about this from Tim. So welcome again, Tim.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Well, I always like to know a little bit about my guests. So how is it that you got to where you are today and discovered that this is your passion in life?
Well, gosh, like most entrepreneurs, it wasn't a straight path. It was kind of squiggles on a piece of paper. But I always tell people, I wasn't one of those entrepreneurs that, had a lemonade stand and was selling baseball cards when I was 10.
I'm going to do this, and they're 6, right?
Yeah. I didn't have that burning desire. All I cared about at that point was getting out and riding my bike and playing with my friends. But when I went to college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I'd always liked math, so I said, look, I'm going to be a math major. Everybody I know is doing business or, a lot of the same things. Math is used all over the place, so it should give me some options. Well, I graduated, still had no idea what the heck I was going to do. My dad had been an entrepreneur for years. Okay. He owned a manufacturer's rep company, and about a year or two before I graduated, he had started a distribution company that was kind of a sister company to that rep company. And he had no full-time employees at that point. And I said, look, I know you need some help. Let me help you for the summer while I figure out what the heck I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And it was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. So, end of the summer, that was all she wrote. I was hooked. I mean, I loved it. I was the first full-time employee. We were selling consumer electronics, so home theater equipment, speakers. Yeah, it was. TVs was fun stuff.
Wonderful place for a tech person to be.
Yes, yeah. I was soaking information up like a sponge. I learned more in 3 months of doing that than I did in 4 years of college. So it was. I loved it, and I said, look, if you'll have me, I want to stay on and keep doing this. And he said, yeah, this is great. Let's do this. He was busy doing his other day-to-day stuff. I was managing the distribution company day-to-day. And, things just went from there. I became a partner in the company. And, by the time we sold in 2005, we had 3 locations, 20, 25 employees. So it was an amazing experience. I learned so much doing that. And after we got acquired, I worked for that company for another 3 years. That's when I actually moved out to Colorado. My wife and I had been thinking about moving. We moved to Colorado with the company. And the company that bought us was a public company, and they bought not only our distribution company, but multiple distribution companies at the same time across the country. Well, we all know what happened in 2008. So I had moved, the proverbial S hit the fan. And as a public company, they were really concerned. They started freaking out. They were making a lot of short-term decisions that maybe made sense in the short term, but weren't really great for the company long-term. And in 2009, I actually got laid off.
Oh, no.
And, well, you know what? I tell my wife,
right?
yeah, they did me a favor. I wasn't happy at that point. I was traveling a lot more than I initially anticipated. And I was fortunate where I was at least able to, I was in a position where I wasn't worried about how I was going to pay my bills tomorrow, and make my mortgage payment.
Right.
So, I took some time off and just figured out, hey, what do I want to do? And I had always been interested in real estate. So I said, look, I'm gonna learn real estate from the residential side. I'm gonna become a realtor. If nothing else, I'll learn the business and it'll allow me to invest in real estate, which I'd always been interested in. And so that's what I did. I started door knocking people that were in foreclosure because there was a ton of short sale business at that point where people needed to sell their house for less than it was
Colorado
worth.
went through a weird little glitchy period there.
Yeah, it was just, it was a crazy time, and I was putting myself outside of my comfort zone every day, really pushing myself. But after a couple of years, I was like, man, I don't like doing this. I wasn't happy. I was getting to the point. I read an email about a week ago, and the guy was talking about Sunday night syndrome, where, Sunday night, you're starting to worry about, oh my God, I've got work tomorrow.
The stomach starts churning.
Yeah, it's churning. I'm dreading it. Well, that was me every single day. And I'm like, why am I owning a business that is making me feel like this? So I said, I have to do something different. And that's when I started thinking about, what did I love about the distribution business? What skills did I have? And mobile applications were really hot at the time. They were getting hot. And I said, look, this is an interesting market. It's changing all the time. Very dynamic. It'll keep me interested. I know what it's like to grow a business. I know how to help people grow their business. I'm gonna get into mobile applications. And that's when I started Rialto. And so initially, I was strictly focused on mobile applications. We were selling some to small business owners, but a lot of it was in the K-12 education space, where, look, if you try to get school information from your phone and you go to their website, it's a disaster.
Right, yeah.
So it was a way for them.
You just need to know our class is starting early or late today.
Yeah, what's on the lunch menu today? How do I email my kid's teacher easily? So it's a great communication tool for them. And that's what we were focused on at that point. And then this was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember the exact time frame. Apple changed their publishing guidelines. They made some adjustments, and I was not doing development from the ground up. It was very similar to I was building apps like you build websites on Wix or Squarespace.
Okay. So you used a platform.
Yeah, it's a platform, drag and drop editor. And Apple said, you know what? We don't like these. We don't think they're putting out quality apps. We're not going to publish apps that are built on builders anymore. Well, as you can imagine, there were a ton of app building platforms, a ton of resellers building apps on those. And so literally overnight,
they went,
yeah, they were shut down. And, fortunately it took a couple months and things changed. They opened up the policies a little bit. But it really got me to the point where I said, look, my business is heavily tied to the policies of Apple and Google. And that is not a good place to be. That is a very vulnerable place to be. They have too much power over my business. So I need to shift. So I shifted again. And that's when I started getting into offering much more comprehensive marketing services where we can be, an outsourced marketing department for our clients. And that's still what we're doing today. So that's how I got to where I am.
I love it. And in the last 10-ish months or so, since the pandemic started, we've really seen everybody having to make a lot of shifts.
Yes.
But, that I mentioned when I was, at the start of the program that we're going to be talking about fundamentals in marketing. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that people have, because I do marketing for folks also. Now I focus more just pretty much on social media, but it's just a tool.
Yes. Yes.
And, you mentioned having all of your eggs in the Apple basket, the people who say, I don't need a website because I have a Facebook page. I'm like, oh, no. But I think that the biggest problem that so many people have is the bright, shiny object syndrome.
Yes.
Or the squirrel. What is the latest and greatest that has come out, and how can I jump on that bandwagon? And then they might see a little bit of success, and then what happens is it starts to fade, and whoop, they jump to the next thing. One of the things right now that is bright, shiny object is the app Clubhouse.
Yes. That's so funny.
I have an account. That's all I have done with it. I mean, I haven't even logged in. I mean, any of those various things. But it was funny because on Facebook today, I saw a post from a marketing person who was saying, this is going to be the greatest thing. It's absolutely fabulous. This is the next big thing. And I'm thinking, yeah, I think those MySpace people said that too.
Yeah.
And so, it's like all of these things, they're just tools.
Yes.
And we have to start with the absolute basics. And so I think one of the most basic things, and that so many people get wrong, is who the heck are they trying to reach? I love it when I ask somebody, who is your target market? Who's your greatest potential customer? And they look at me and they smile sweetly and they say, everyone.
Yeah.
And they need to understand Starbucks doesn't target everyone. Walmart doesn't target everyone. Mercedes-Benz doesn't target everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody has a niche market. So let's talk about target markets. Why are they so important? And why do we have to figure out exactly who ours is?
Yeah, you can't without, and target market, as far as I'm concerned, is the first fundamental in marketing. That's where everything starts, because if you don't understand who you're going to serve and how you're going to serve those people, you're never going to, you're not going to be able to figure out where the heck they are to get in front of them. But two, you're just going to flounder. You can't target everybody, as you said. It's not possible. Even the largest companies in the world don't target everybody. It's just impossible. And frankly, when you tell people, everyone, it doesn't resonate with them. They're not going to be able to think of people that they can refer you to or make introductions to when you're too broad. You have to narrow that focus, because when you really understand who you're trying to reach, then you can start to ask yourself, well, where are these people? Where do they congregate? Where are they offline? Where are they online? And then when you understand where they are, now you know exactly where you need to be to market your business and get in front of those people. Your marketing becomes so much easier when you know who you're trying to reach. It provides you that direction and that focus that you need to be successful.
But I'm sure you hear this as much as I hear this. When you're telling someone you have to do that, they go, but I'm missing people.
Yes.
There are times where I tell people, you need to get down to a really tight niche, however we say that word. And so you might all of a sudden be talking to 100 people as opposed to 100,000. And so they're thinking, but look at all that money, all that potential that I'm missing. So what do you say to people who say, but?
Because the opposite actually ends up being true. You end up doing more business because you can't, when you know exactly who you're trying to reach, your message, what you say to them, becomes that much more clear and engaging. When you try to do too broad, your message is not going to resonate with most of those people, and it's not going to resonate very strong. And because of that, your marketing is not going to convert as well as it should. But when you niche down, focus on 1 to 3 ideal client types, your messaging becomes much more clear and engaging to those that you're trying to reach. You naturally attract more of those people, right? But I'm not telling you not to do business with other people. I'm just telling you.
Somebody else wants to spend money, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, you can make that decision. All we're saying is you're going to focus your marketing efforts and your marketing dollars on trying to attract those ideal client types. You're naturally, look, we work with service-based businesses. I've worked with 2 e-commerce clients in the last month. I made the choice because I knew what they needed, and I knew that we could help them based on what their needs were.
Right.
And so I made the choice, hey, look, no problem. I know that I can help you. Here's why, and here's what we're going to do. Do I market to e-commerce companies? No, I don't. But I can make the choice of who I want to do business with. I'm just making the choice that I'm going to focus my marketing efforts on these specific ideal client types.
Right. Yeah, because the message is different. We're all told that what we need to be doing is solving someone's pain. I'm not real wild about that. I've never really liked that philosophy because, to me, that's such a negative. But it's when you're trying to solve the problems of the world, you can't. I mean, it's just not possible. And so when you stop and think, a great example was when you were doing the apps, you focused on education because that was who needed your service. If you said, hey, we're going to design apps for everybody, then yeah, I mean, you're back to, we don't even know where to market to them, but when you knew you needed clients that were in education, then you could advertise in their publications. You could go to their trade shows. You could speak their language. Talking about reaching parents is very different than if you're saying, hey, you need to reach your consumer.
Right.
And I think that's what's key in this is when you get it so focused, it really does make it much, as you were saying, much more easy to reach them.
Yes, absolutely.
So, how do you get somebody to really focus on that? Because, whether they've been in business 2 weeks, 2 years, 2 decades, this is one of the biggest issues for people because they are thinking we have to maybe not reach everybody, but they're still too broad. So let's talk about how you get someone to say, oh, okay, this is who I need to focus on.
So I like to keep things as simple as possible. So for existing businesses that have current and past clients, the easiest place to start is to ask yourself 3 questions. One is, who do you enjoy working with? Why? There's no reason to work with people that you don't enjoy working with. It's going to make your days much longer. You're not going to enjoy your business. You need to work with people you like working with. 2, who are your most profitable clients? Okay. We're not going to stay in business if we're not doing profitable work. Okay. And then 3, who do you do your best work for? Who do you get the best results for? When you ask yourself those 3 questions and you look at the group of clients that you answered positively to, okay, that is where you start your work on who my ideal clients are, because everybody in that group you love to work with, they're profitable, and you do great work for. Now what you can do is start to look at the traits and the characteristics of the different people in that group. Demographics, so statistical data, how old are they? Do they have a certain position? Where do they live? Do they live in a certain house value? I mean, all those things are the demographics. What I think is equally, if not more important, are the psychographics of the people in that group.
Right.
What are their thoughts? What are their feelings? What kind of roadblocks do they have as it relates to
what are their problems?
Yeah, what are their problems? What results do they want to see? What are their goals? Because the psychographics is really what gets people to buy and engage with you. So when you look at the people in that group and you look at the demographics, you look at the psychographics, typically what happens is you see these subgroups start to form from there.
Okay.
Those subgroups are where your ideal clients are. And like I said, most businesses have 1 to 3 ideal client types. I would not recommend you focus on more than 3. I think it starts to get too broad and it becomes a little bit more challenging.
Right.
So, focus on 1 to 3 of those subgroups. Those are gonna be your ideal clients.
Right. And it is hard to start drilling down like that, especially if you've been doing the market to everybody type of thing. But I love that, the first thing is figure out what who you like to be working with. You liked working with educators. Some people are going to like, it's been several years, but I interviewed some folks on this program who focused on marketing to blue collar professionals.
Yep.
They just loved it. So they worked with landscapers, they worked with
Yep.
plumbers, all sorts of people. And, and they really figured out that that was their niche. Partially, but part of that was because that was their background.
Yes.
So they really spoke that language. I mean, there'd be, I couldn't do that. I mean, that would not be, just because I'm not going to know the right terminology again, things like that. But that was their passion. They grew up, their parents had been in those type of service providers. And so they figured out, hey, these guys need to be focusing on plumbing, landscaping, whatever it was, and have really no knowledge about how to market, about how to build websites. So that's why they went, ooh, this is a great market to get into.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, think about it. We've all worked with clients where the project was done and we said to ourselves, oh my God, I don't ever want to do that again.
Right.
That was painful, so let's just have the awareness to go, okay, who are these people that we don't like to work with and why?
Right.
A lot of it is not, especially like in marketing, a lot of it isn't necessarily the type of business that they're in. It's more about, again, those psychographics, how
Right.
they are, we help people grow their business. If you're not interested in investing in the growth of your
Right.
business and really committed to that, you're not going to be a good fit.
Right. Yeah.
So, if you're happy, people say, hey, well, but 100% referral business, I'm good with where I'm at. Awesome. Good for you.
Right. Keep
You're
it
not
up.
going to be a good fit for us. That's fine. It's okay. And so we just have to understand that and, know what those people are like. And then we can start to identify, okay, these are the types of people that I do want to attract.
And it might take a little bit to get there, especially if
Yes.
you're already doing business, because you might have existing clients. And of course, one of the hardest things for a small business owner to do is to fire a client.
Yes.
And one of the things, and we've all done it. We have all finally decided this is not worth that pain point. I've had clients before where I charged them PITA, pain in the taxes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And, obviously you don't put that on the invoice, but they just weren't fun to deal with. And so, when a time came to be able to say, you know what, we're not doing the best job for you. And that's really where it comes down to, is if you're not having fun working with them, you're not going to do your best work.
Nope.
So that's not good. And so, anytime though that I have terminated an agreement, I like to have somebody else to refer them to, to say, you know what, this is a great company. I'm going to suggest that you work with them. I'll provide, if you want to go with them, I'll do the introduction, be happy to work with them in the transition, all those various things. Because, burning bridges really isn't one of the wise things to do. But,
No.
we also need to know initially, I mean, how many times have we met with a potential client and thought, I mean, that little, you had that little thought, but sometimes you have to work with them. I mean, you've got bills you've got to pay, and things like that. But there are times where it's like, nah, just not gonna go there. And if you have that thought with your initial meeting, it's not going to get better. I mean,
No, it usually does not get better.
Yeah. And I mean, I had a client one time that we met with, and I mean, it really was one of those where I thought, this is not what I want to do. And now he knew exactly what he wanted. He was very organized. I mean, so because we've all, especially as a marketing firm, met with a potential client and they're like, oh, yeah, no, this guy knew. I mean, he was very organized, but there was something about him. I mean, there was now it wasn't a weird vibe. I mean, there wasn't anything scary or anything like that. Because obviously, those are times where we pay attention. No, you don't go there. But yeah, I thought, ugh. And so, but I went ahead and did the proposal because we were a new business. We needed the money, all those various things. And so, we did the proposal, and I don't do proposals anymore. I don't do long drawn out proposals where somebody takes my work and gives it to somebody else, which is exactly what that man did. He liked another company's proposal, but he didn't like them. And so he gave me their proposal. Now he'd redacted all of their names, but he said, "Here, I want you to implement this." And I said, "Oh no, that's not the way this works."
You're
That's
right.
Yeah, I said that is not ethical. But the funny thing is he missed redacting the name in one spot. And it was somebody I knew and knew very well. And I contacted them and I said, "You need to know what's happened."
Yeah.
And so of course they dropped him too. I got several nasty emails from the guy, but then I was thinking, oh my gosh, dodged a big bullet on that one. But that again is where knowing who you should be working with. I mean, that if I had that at that point, I never even would have been having that discussion because he wouldn't have been fitting who I wanted to work with.
It gives you a measuring stick, right? So as you're having conversations with prospects, you've got this measuring stick and you can go, do they fall into one of my ideal client types? And if they don't, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to say no, but again, you can say, "Hey, I have enough information. I've measured it against my metrics here that I'm looking at, and you're not a good fit. Let me refer you to somebody else." Or you know what? I know we can help you, and here's why. But you at least have something to compare it against, so that you know that you're making a good decision.
Right. And some of, it's all arbitrary, as to who this is. I mean, I know companies who will only work with businesses that have been in business a certain number of years. They want to make sure that they're good, solid businesses. Other businesses absolutely love working with startups. Working with a startup is risky, but they love it. And so all of those things are there. So it's just a matter of, and obviously this depends on what you do, but you and I are we work with service organizations. So you can research these people before you go to meet with them. The worst thing, and I saw this, I think on a LinkedIn article, was where somebody said, the worst thing is when you're meeting with a potential client and you say, "So tell me what you do," because you should know that before you ever meet with them.
Yep. Well, and I think it's about having the right, asking the right questions.
Right.
So even if you ask the right questions, you will get the information that you need, even if they're not completely forthcoming with the information. If you ask the right questions, you'll be able to tell whether they're going to be a good fit or not.
Right.
You just have to have a process in place for it.
And obviously, there's lots of ways that you can be researching, and clearly this depends on what you're doing for your business. If it's a one-shot thing, you might not really care. If it's more you're developing long-term type of clients, things like that. But one of the greatest resources is to research somebody on LinkedIn. I love going, and I tell people this who are in the job market. You absolutely have to look for people on LinkedIn who don't work there anymore, and contact them and say, "I've applied for a job there. Would you mind sharing a little bit about the company?" At the very least, they're going to ignore you or tell you no. But you're going to get some great insight. I was working with somebody one time, and she lived in Colorado. She'd applied to work with a company in Cleveland. Going to be obviously a major relocation. She found somebody on LinkedIn who had left there. And so she contacted and she said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this." And all they did was put a link to an article in the local paper that talked about the fact that the company was thinking about was coming perilously close to declaring bankruptcy. So I mean that was and so actually she went ahead, she still interviewed with them, but she put it in writing that not only would they pay to relocate her, if she wasn't still employed by them, because they closed or something, within a year's period of time, they had to pay to relocate her again. So, and they actually agreed to it. And because they said, we've got a handle on this. We think we're going to be okay. But she just went in with invaluable information, and so, I mean, you can do this. I mean, I hate to suggest this for businesses, but, you can go in and say, I need half up front. Here's all of these various things you can figure out. Okay, I'm going to work with them a little bit different. But again, if you got that feeling, okay, just skip them. Don't even go there.
Yeah, I love your point about doing online research. There's, frankly, whether it's customers or whatever it is, there's so much information online that we can garner now. I mean, we have information is at our fingertips. We just need to know where to look to get it.
Right. You know,
But online is a great place to start. Confirm some of the things that you think about your target market. You know, there's.
and and you do have to filter it,
Yes.
but yeah, I mean, you can look and see, is this a business that has a bunch of positive Yelp reviews or a bunch of negative Yelp reviews?
Yes.
Or Google reviews, because you can't, for those who are, kind of unfamiliar with the process, if somebody gives you a negative review, you can't make that go away. Because Google and Yelp want to be unbiased, and some of the other review sites. So, I always look to see what the response was. Was there even a response, or how did they respond? So if they've got negative reviews, I care about those far more than the positive reviews, because it's like, yeah, right, you had all your employees go do those. But yeah, it's the negative things, and so yeah, do your online research. Again, obviously, this depends on what your business provides, but even if you're back to the blue collar guys, I mean, run, depending on how much you're going to be invoicing them, run a check and make sure that they're not, that they're financially solvent. You can get some pretty good information for free out there.
Yeah. Yes, you can.
And so it comes back to that. But so now we've figured out, okay, we're going to market to Sally. Sally is X age. Sally has X income. She's got 2.3 kids and 1.2 dogs. I mean, I always loved it.
Yes.
Back when people had 2.5 kids. I'm thinking, how do you market to 0.5 a kid?
Yeah, exactly.
But, it's like round up or round down, but let's not have a partial kid. And so, so now you know who you're supposed to be marketing to. How do we decide what we're going to say to them? How do we develop that marketing message?
Yeah. So now that you know who that target market is, with your marketing messaging, what you say, how you communicate what you do and the value you provide is essential. If you're ever going to convert prospects into customers. And the easiest way to do this, I believe, is to use a storytelling framework. I did not create this. Okay, the framework that we recommend is from a company called StoryBrand, from Donald Miller. He popularized this from a marketing perspective, but it's, if any of you guys are familiar, or your listeners are familiar with the hero's journey, it's kind of a modification of that. Where if you look at most stories, okay, there is a main character or a hero. They have a problem. They need a guide who gives them a plan that calls them to action so they avoid failure and they reach success.
Right.
Okay, so let's think about this. One of my favorite movies is the original Point Break with Keanu Reeves and Gary Busey. Okay, don't fault me, Deb. But Keanu Reeves is a green FBI agent in that movie. The problem, there's a band of bank robbers called the ex-presidents that are robbing banks in Southern California. The guide is Gary Busey, who is his partner. He's a seasoned FBI agent. He's been there. He's done that. The plan is, I believe, Gary Busey believes that the ex-presidents are surfers. So he says, you need to learn how to surf. And I think you may meet them while you're surfing.
Right. So that's the target market.
Yeah, well, that's the plan, right? And so he calls them to action and he says, you need to learn how to surf. So that hopefully you meet them, we avoid failure where they ride off into the sunset, and we reach success and we catch the bank robbers, right? So all we're doing when we take that framework is we are inviting your customer into a story where they are the hero and your business is the guide.
Right.
Because our customers aren't looking for another hero. They're looking for a guide who knows how to solve the problem they have that's going to help them get from where they are to where they want to be. And so when you do this, what it's really helping you do is enter that conversation that the prospect is having in their mind, which is why it's so important for you to understand who your ideal clients are. Because when your prospects see what you say, what you really want them to say to themselves is, oh my God, was Deb at the meeting that we had last
you're
week?
talking to me.
Yeah, or my God, was she sitting on the couch like listening to my thoughts last night when I was thinking about that? That's what you want to have happen, because when that happens, it clicks. Your messaging is clear, it's engaging, and it's going to convert because of that.
Right.
But the other thing that using this framework does, I love frameworks, I love to keep things simple. You always have this framework to go back to. So when you're going to create an email that you're going to send out, you're not wondering what you're going to say. You're not reinventing the wheel. You go back to the framework and you pull bits and pieces to create the message that you want to communicate. And that allows you to be consistent over time. Because the biggest mistake most businesses make with their messaging is they're just not clear.
Right.
They're talking too much about themselves, which our customers
have
don't.
done X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
We've won awards. We've done this. We've done that. And I'm like, I don't care.
No, nobody cares. What we care about is, how can you help me solve the problem I have? And the other mistake we make is we're not clear. We land on somebody's website and we read the information at the top of the page, and we're left wondering, what the hell does that mean? Or I don't understand what these people do. And if people are thinking that, do you really think they're going to scroll down the rest of the page to find out? No. We have super short attention spans because we can get information so quickly. Right. So if we go to a website and we don't understand it immediately, we're going back to the search results and we're clicking on the next listing. So that's why I love this framework, because it helps you eliminate those problems. And it helps you position yourself as that guide to attract those ideal clients that you're looking for. And it really helps make your company memorable and magnetic. Right. And that's what you want to do with your message.
Right. And we've all seen those messages that are too broad. And we've done the click. Because if I can't figure out, can they solve my problem, whether it's a positive problem or a negative problem, if they, and some things are just really simple and really basic, are they open right now because of COVID?
Right.
How many restaurant pages have we gone to where we're thinking, are they even open right now? Yes. I'm sorry, that needs to be first and foremost, because that's the thing that people are thinking about right now. That might not be what you really want to be talking about, but that's their biggest question. Are you open? What are your hours? All of these various things. And so, that might not be the very first thing, but it's got to be in there so that, and because if I have to click 4 or 5 times, I'm gone. I'm just gone. And so you can maybe you work that back in to say, back to, the restaurant, we are still serving high quality food during this time. We have limited access, but we are open, things like that, so that, they get it right away, what they're looking for.
Yeah. We have to keep our communications simple and clear. I would much rather err on the side of clear than clever, because when we try to get clever with what we say, usually it falls flat. We make people think too much about what we mean, and it's just not going to resonate. It's going to fall flat.
Right. Yeah. Look at the times where, especially like ads, TV ads, they try and be so cute and so clever, and they might be cute and clever, but when it's done, you don't remember who it was. One of my favorite commercials of all time is, and gosh, it must be 20 years old or so now, is the herding cats one. And of course it ran during the Super Bowl. It was, clearly I still remember, it was this cute commercial about herding cats. 30 seconds after it ran, you had no idea who it was for. And it was for EDS data systems, if I remember right. But yeah, so you can be cute and you can be clever, but if they don't remember who it is or what you're doing, again, you've lost out.
Yeah, that's another reason why using this framework works so well, because it helps you be consistent, with your message. Because in marketing, we always talk about the marketing rule of 7. It takes at least 7 impressions of your brand, of your message, for something to start to resonate with the prospect, to help them remember it. Well, if they hear a different message each and every time,
Right.
you're never going to get to the place where they're going to remember who the heck you are and what you're all about.
Right. And the
so we've got
problem
to
is
have
a lot of
consistency.
people, they do the different message depending on what platform they're on. I see that happen all the time where their website says one thing, but their Facebook post or their Facebook page is totally different. Because they think, well, I'm reaching a different market there, so I have to talk different. Well, that comes back to you don't know who your target market is.
Right. And you're also, think about the experience from the prospect standpoint. They're on your website, they read a message,
Right.
they click on your Facebook icon, they go to your Facebook page, and there's a different message there. And they're like,
thinking, I went to the wrong place.
yeah, am I in the right place? There needs to be consistency there from channel to channel. That's just going to, again, reinforce your message. Because look what just happened. They were on your website. That's one impression.
Right.
They go to your Facebook page. That's two. If you just communicated the same message there, you just reinforced your message twice. You're already partway to that 7 impressions, right? But if they go from one channel to the next and see a different message, it's not happening.
Right.
So there's got to be consistency there.
Right. And the big thing is that you have to have a plan. It's tricky because, we have our marketing message, but then our salespeople, and it can even be the same person, goes out and tells people something totally different. I've worked in the large companies before where you had your sales team and you had your marketing team, and they never talked to each other. They reported to different hierarchies. I mean, all these various things. And that was a recipe for disaster because, again, they didn't have the consistent messaging, all of those things. So talk to us a bit, because a lot of people go, oh, a plan.
Yeah.
I've got my marketing plan. It's in a binder. It's on the shelf behind me. And they blow the dust off of it, right? Or it's still, it doesn't even have current people in it. I mean, all those various things. So, but then, there's also I don't have time to do a plan. Why is a plan so important? And tell us kind of, walk us through at least what needs to be in it for the basics. Yeah.
So look, it was Benjamin Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail.
Right.
Right. So, having a plan is important because it gives you your marching orders. Okay. Doesn't mean that your plan's not going to change. Okay. Right. Our plans change all the time, but we have to have
there's this thing called COVID, right?
Yes,
what
exactly.
we plan for in February is totally different than what we plan for in March.
That's right. But we have to have an idea of what we need to focus on right now. When you have a plan, you talked about being distracted with marketing. The way we frame it is it's information overload.
Right.
You need to be on Clubhouse this week, and you need to be on TikTok. And if you don't have a plan in place, that allows you to become distracted and become overwhelmed with all that information overload. And then you're not going to accomplish anything. Right. But if you have a plan, it keeps you focused. It eliminates the distraction so that when somebody says this week, hey, Deb, you need to be on Clubhouse, you can say, you know what? I've got the discipline to say this is not on my plan.
Right.
I'm going to write down Clubhouse, and maybe I'll look at that when I rework
3 months
my plan.
from now, let's see if it's still.
Right? I'll put it out there. I'm not going to forget about it, but I'm not going to focus on it right now because it's not on my plan.
Right.
So your plan keeps you focused, it eliminates that distraction, and it helps you understand when and what you're going to execute on. Now, the biggest issue I see people make with plans is they overcomplicate them. It's like you said, I just spent, 10 grand on my 1-year marketing plan and it's 30 pages and it's this in depth and we did a SWOT analysis and blah, 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 blah. It's too complicated. And when it's too complicated, we're not going to implement it. It goes into the desk drawer. Right? Yeah. At least if I put it in my desk drawer, I eliminate all the dust on it. But still.
And it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yes, it's out of sight, out of mind. But like you said, if I had spent that money doing a marketing plan in January of last year, come March, most of us would have burned it.
Right.
And so the way I approach marketing planning is 90-day sprints. Our businesses are evolving quickly and our marketing is going to evolve as a result. And so 90 days is a long enough period of time to see whether what we're doing is having an impact, but it's short enough where we can start to make course corrections easily.
Right.
And so I use a 6-step 90-day marketing plan. Okay, it's very easy.
Perfect.
Okay, if depending on how much you write, this is no more than like 2 pages or 3 pages. I've seen people do it on 1. So first off, is your target market. Who are your 1 to 3 ideal client types you're trying to attract? Okay, we just want to keep that top of mind again. At the very least, write a paragraph. 4 to 6 sentences of who those ideal clients are. Okay. The second thing is, what's your marketing goal? What's my goal for the next 90 days? And for most of us, we may have a year goal or a 3-year goal. That 90-day goal is going to be a goal that's going to help us inch closer to that longer term goal. Okay. But it should be specific. It needs to be measurable. In the next 90 days, we're going to bring on 5 new clients. Okay. So then you've got, what's your marketing budget and your resources? I have to understand how much money I have to invest and the time resources. Maybe it's not my time as the business owner, but maybe it could be some of my time, but it could also be some of the people I have on staff. And then the money I have to invest is, hey, am I going to do some paid ads, or do I want to pay? Do I have enough money to pay somebody to help me execute on this? But you have to know how much you have and how much time you have, because that's going to determine what you can actually focus on or how much you can focus on. Then in the 4th step, we're looking at what's our current marketing plan. And I realize when I say this, a lot of people may not have an existing marketing plan.
And that's okay to admit that.
It's okay. There's a lot of people that don't. All we're doing here is trying to identify, where are we starting from? Because we can't outline what we need to do to get to where we want to be until we know where we're starting from.
Right.
It's no different than my GPS. I can't just say I want to go to Denver International Airport. I need to tell it where I'm starting from. So in this step, what we're going to outline is what we're doing in each of the main marketing channels. And I look at 8 marketing channels. Okay. There's your fundamentals or your strategy, which is your target market and your messaging. If you don't have those in place, you got to start there. Right. Otherwise, you're going to waste time and you're going to waste money. Then you've got your website. You have content marketing. You have search engine optimization, social media marketing, email marketing, paid advertising, so things like Google ads or Facebook ads, and then offline marketing, which could be, networking, in-person speaking, direct mail,
Zoom.
whatever it may be. And so all you're going to do in this 4th step is just write down, what have you done or what are you continuing to do in each of those channels. And if you're not doing anything, it's okay. Just write not applicable. I'm not doing anything there.
Right. We're not networking in person for 3 months.
Correct. Right? But you at least have a general picture of, what am I doing from a marketing perspective right now? Then in my 5th step, what am I going to do in those 8 channels for the next 90 days? This is what I'm going to focus on for the next 90 days. And depending on what my budget is and the time that I have, that's going to determine really what I can and can't focus on, because you can't focus on everything. So all we're going to do here is just outline, what am I going to focus on? Right. And one of the tools that we use, and I'll in the resources that I'll give your listeners, this checklist is in there, but we call it a Marketing Evolution Index checklist. And it looks at these different channels in 3 phases. If I'm in phase 1 of my website, what should I be focusing on? When I'm done with those at phase 2, what should I be focusing on? So it gives you a guidepost to look at, to try and determine, based on where I'm at, what should I be focusing on in these respective channels. So it makes that a lot easier, because a lot of people go, okay, well, great, I know where I'm at, but what the hell should I focus on for the next 90 days? I have no idea.
Right.
Well, use the Marketing Evolution Index checklist as that guidepost. Okay. It's not foolproof. Nothing is foolproof, but it gives you an idea of how to focus. And you're going to outline those in that 5th step. And then the last step is, what metrics am I going to track? The metrics will help you determine whether the actions that you're taking are starting to have an impact. Right. Keep it simple. I was a math major, right? So I could dig into the weeds on the analytics, but we don't need to do that. So if frankly, for most of it comes down to, am I getting more leads? And how many of those leads are actually being converted into more customers?
Right.
You know, that's a good place to start. And then you may have some metrics that are specific to, you know, if I'm focusing on my website, you know, maybe I want to look at, you know, traffic. A lot of traffic is a kind of a vanity metric, but is what I'm doing driving more traffic to my website? And then am I actually converting any of that traffic to leads and customers? Go high level. Do not dig into the weeds. But then at the end of 90 days, you're just going to look at it. What have we done? The metrics that we tracked, what's working, what's not. And then we make course corrections. We update our current marketing plan section. We update what are we going to focus on for the next 90 days? Are we going to track some different metrics? And away we go. We just wash, rinse, and repeat. But I guarantee you, if you use this for a year, you will look back on that year and go, oh my God, we just accomplished way more than we ever have in any other year, because you had a simple plan that you could actually follow and use, and you took action.
I love it. You know, and the thing about it being, you know, a simple plan is it's easy to make adjustments to it. You know, we're still in the pandemic. We're still in quasi lockdown. You know, we're not going and meeting with people. We're not networking. We're not doing all those things that we did a year ago. But if we had some of those basics in place, that didn't change. Your target market pretty much stayed the same. Your, you know, all of the things, your marketing message. Now you might have to have, you know, tweaked your marketing message a bit, you know, home a lot more now, you know,
right.
You know, some things like that. But yeah, if you have those basics, then you can switch. There's a commercial right now that, you know, we don't spring back, we spring forward. And that's so true. And, you know, again, here we go with, I don't remember who it was. But, you know, it really is true, because we're thinking, you know, okay, we're not going to go backwards in our planning. We're going forward, you know, because backward is, you know, and things are not going to be the same. You know, whatever happens when we are out of the pandemic, you know, if we're ever really out of that, I mean, we just go on to the next thing. But yeah, when you've got those basics down, you tweak them slightly. And as you said, you know, with a 90-day plan, it's easy to do that. If it's like, well, you know, in year 5, I said I'd be doing such and such. I mean, you can't, you know, you that's one of my favorite memes that, you know, keeps floating across social media. Who would have, you know, when you were asked your goals 5 years ago, who would have said this?
Yes.
But yeah, you know, it's so when you know and have those basics, you know, you can make those adjustments and go forward. So it's not even really a pivot. It's just, you know, it's an adjustment. It's, you know, a course correction back to your GPS. You know, you get there, there's a detour. All righty then. You know, your destination is still the same. So, you know, you just have to change how you're getting there.
Yes, how you're going to get there. And it's those little incremental changes that you make.
Right.
That make all the difference in the results you have at the end. Most people don't measure their marketing results. They don't know whether what they're doing is having an impact. When you measure it and you know what's working and what's not, you have enough information to make an informed decision to go, hey, we need to double down on this. We need to drop this. Maybe we're going to test this other tactic here to see if we can get some similar results. But you're constantly changing. It's like I said before, your business is evolving, your marketing is going to evolve with it. And that's okay to change things. You know, frankly, even if you said to me, hey, you know, I've got my 3 ideal client types. Awesome. Well, 2 years from now, you may say to me, you know what? We've realized that this ideal client type is not good for us.
Right.
That's okay. This is not like set in stone and your feet are buried in concrete and you can't move. It's okay to change it. It's just one of those things. It shouldn't be changing, you know, daily, weekly, monthly.
Right. Because we have to be consistent.
Yeah. But it's okay to change it from time to time. Those things are going to happen.
Right.
This just keeps you focused. And, you know, when you do need to change it, you're going to have the information you need to say, here, we need to change this and here's why.
Right. Yeah. You know, and then when things happen, you know, I think that the problem is when we think things can't change. You know, that's where when something like a pandemic hits, the businesses go under. Our favorite bookstore in Birmingham is they sell signed first editions of modern books. Absolutely love that place. We actually deliberately drive from Atlanta to Birmingham several times a year to do this. Well, they're closed. They can't have people coming in the store. Now, this was never a huge retail place. I mean, this is not Walmart. This is, maybe they had 10 people a day that came in. I have no idea. But what they did was, okay, their website was pretty good, but now they've really bumped it up. Every single book they have is shown on the website. I mean, their inventory is impeccable. So you can do your online ordering. But they've added a lot of video features with authors. So Zoom interviews, so they're saying, hey, Tim, tell us about the new book that we're going to be highlighting and releasing in our store tomorrow. So people are like, oh my gosh, I love that. And so they took their basic premise, which was still selling signed first editions. They didn't change from that. They just changed how and where they were going to be reaching people. And it wasn't a drastic change. It was just, okay, well, as opposed to in-person book signings, we're going to be doing virtual book signings or something like that.
Yep. They found a way to take their existing model and modify it so that it works under the current circumstances. Right. And that's what a lot of us have had to do. And that's just part of that's part of the squiggly line that I talked about in the beginning.
Yeah. And unfortunately for some, it wasn't possible. And they just couldn't make that change. But for the rest of us, we can change. I mean, we were talking before the program started about how much online networking we're doing now. Oh my gosh. The thought of having to, put real pants on and real shoes and drive to a networking event and eat whatever that meal is. And I'm like, ugh, I might not, I used to go to 2 or 3 of those a week.
Yeah.
Things open up again. I might go to 1 a month. I mean, who knows? I might not do them at all. But yeah, I mean, I'm attending events that are in Colorado because they're Zooming. And things like that. So yeah, I think it's now is actually a great time to be making these decisions. And if you're a new business or an existing business, it's an absolute perfect time to be thinking through these things. But you might be thinking, I'm still overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. Which means they need to contact you, Tim. So how do
nice
they?
segue.
I know it's like I've done this before, right? So how do they reach you and connect with you?
Yeah, the best place, and thank you, Deb. The best place to go is our website, which is rialtomarketing.com. That's RIALTO marketing.com. We put together some special resources about these 3 fundamentals that we've talked about.
Perfect.
For your listeners. So if they go to rialtomarketing.com /the-business-power-hour, there are some free resources there. If you like what we talked about, and you want to get, some outside eyes on where to focus your marketing efforts next, there's a get a free consultation button right there, and you can book a call with me. Be happy to chat with you and give you some clarity on where you should be focusing your marketing efforts to get the best return. But there's some awesome free resources there. At the bottom of the page are links to our social. We've got a podcast, we've got a blog, we're putting out all kinds of content there as well. So go to our website. It's the hub of everything we do.
I love it. And again, it's rialtomarketing.com, and it's RIALTO marketing.com. I love it. Well, in just the couple minutes that we have remaining, what final thoughts do you want to leave everyone with?
Well, one, don't skip the fundamentals, right? So don't skip your target market, your messaging, and having a plan in place. I don't care what discipline it is. The fundamentals do not change. The fundamentals of hitting a major league fastball are the same today as they were 50 years ago, and they're going to be the same 50 years from now. So, and marketing is no different. So don't skip the fundamentals. You will save so much time and money in the long run if you take the time to do that now. The other thing I would say, just from an entrepreneurial, small business standpoint, look, it's so easy for us to get overwhelmed. There's so many things being thrown at us. Focus on the next measurable step. When you look at, oh my gosh, I've got to do all this stuff to accomplish my goal for this year. focus on the next thing that you can do today to get you one step closer. And it becomes so much easier, less stressful, and you'll actually do it. And then when you do it, you can check it off your list and you go, oh my God, I just made progress today.
Right.
It keeps you motivated too. So hope that helps.
I love it. I love it. Well, it's so important that we have those foundations. I mean, think of it as a house, folks. You don't
Yes.
have a good solid foundation. It doesn't matter what you build above it. It's not stable. It's not going to hold. A good wind or pandemic will blow it over. And so make sure you've got those good, strong foundations. I've been having such a fun time talking with Tim Fitzpatrick. I'm Deb Creer, and until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.